And I'm going to go live here.
Hey everyone, we're just about to start the Alter Perform Show. The show about performing your best in business and life. And I have a very special guest today. You have a question?
No, I'm going to start this one when you start that one.
I did start. We're started.
Oh, wait, then. Okay.
It's okay. It's okay with starts like this because we have so many. You have to remember, we'll simulcast live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, Blog Talk Radio. Then it goes up to iTunes and iHeart, so you can find us everywhere that you can think of. Welcome to the Alter Perform Show, the show about performing your best in business and life. Today I have Demetri Vallejos.
Vallejos.
Vallejos works. Say it like
Vallejos works.
Vallejos. And he's going to be talking about mind, body, spirit, our connection to them. He's an independent wellness consultant for Raw Dimension. So what does that mean, an independent consultant for Raw Dimension?
So I help, I kind of help people with kind of understanding themselves. Independent wellness consultant being, this is all out of self-study. This is all something that I've done out of my own passion for living, and which is kind of interesting because, you know, we kind of find ourselves here on your Ultra Perform show. So,
and I have a show called Passionate Living.
There you go. You know, so yeah, independent wellness consultant. I help people with understanding themselves. I help people with understanding their own unique sense of wellness for their own personal mind, body, spirit complex.
Great, that's great. So you work with sacred holistic medicines, and you've been studying master plants and working with sacred medicines for almost a decade.
Yeah.
So what are master plants? When I first read that, I'm like, what are master plants?
Yeah.
Because I know you in a completely different way, just through association at work.
Sure.
And when I read all your stuff, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So what is that? Master plants?
So master plants are specific plants that kind of they assist us. They assist our consciousness. We live in symbiosis with nature, with the earth, Pachamama. So master plants are specific plants that we have found throughout our own experience here on Earth, throughout, you know, aeon and aeon, like the aeons of our own experiences as a species here on Earth. Through indigenous medicine and indigenous wisdom, there have been certain plants that they have been designated as master plants, like such as tobacco or the ayahuasca vine, San Pedro, the cactus, also known as wachuma, or like peyote, the Native American master plants or sacred plant medicines that have been used for.
Is marijuana a master plant?
Yeah, it's a teacher plant.
I only ask because it's so well known and it's used for rope and clothing and all sorts of things.
I would say cannabis is a teacher plant. However, I would not say it is a master plant. I would compare maybe cannabis to being as high school, whereas some of the other ones that I mentioned would be college or university, in what they're able to teach to us through our own understanding with them. You know, like cannabis, I think, breaks down certain like social constructs that the government or our own ideologies have kind of created for ourselves, you know, through social impact, that kind of thing. And then we start to get into other plants, like some of the other master plants, like ayahuasca, or maybe even mushrooms, you know, the magic mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms, those kinds of things, with being able to assist our own consciousness in understanding ourselves. So master plants, they are healing plants. I mean, other master plants, would they be like things like lavender, or they are healing plants?
Aloe vera?
Aloe vera, sure, I guess in a sense. In a sense of understanding that these plants are healing by nature, and they are able to assist us through symbiosis and understanding our own body and the relationship that we've shared with them for thousands of years. Yeah.
Great. Why do you think we don't use them as much as they were used? I mean, why is it so common, like medicine, pharmaceuticals? Has that replaced that, or is it like hand in hand? How do you see that?
I think it's part of a political machine, you know, and as we extricate ourselves from like the normal usage of politics or political, we're able to see that politics are just moral judgments for, discernments that we make for ourselves. I think that it's a skewed ideology that's been given from generation to generation since the war on drugs, or consciousness, as I like to put it, started. And our own ability to understand ourselves in a very deep level. I think that they have been misunderstood greatly, and that's why they have been kind of made into a stigma of society, or kind of blanched in a certain way. So that's kind of why I feel the need to kind of expand people's awareness around sacred plant medicines and master plants by nature, and our connection with them, and also just our place in the cosmos as far as being part of it. So
what brought you to this point? Like why master plants? Why medicines? Why raw dimension? How did you come to that?
Through kind of just really searching within myself. There was I had a really interesting childhood growing up. There was a lot of emotional trauma or drama that happened throughout my adolescence. The way that I felt was highly misunderstood. And really, that translates into me just misunderstanding myself and kind of finding the opportunity to find or seek more understanding and overcome my own lack of awareness. So as I started to dive deeper into myself and understand myself more, and feel my feelings versus reject them, I came into the awareness of who I am. A lot of that had to do with the use of psychedelics, and kind of just allowing myself to explore my own consciousness and map myself out, where my emotions go, where they lead to, and kind of just begin to find a childlike nature in my exploration of myself, and allow myself to come into what I feel like has always been there. As I developed and grew more aware of my own kind of place in this life, I found more connection to my purpose and my place. I started to study plants, and started to understand homeopathy, naturopathy, healing in general, what health means. Started to look at life tremendously different. I had a couple of awakenings, as I think the New Agers would call it, where I...
So you don't consider yourself a New Ager?
I don't know.
I said the New Agers, so that's
quote,
not
unquote.
you, yeah. That doesn't sound like it's you.
It's part of me. I definitely will accept that it's a part of me, and that there are New Age aspects to my life. But as far as identifying and labeling myself as a New Ager, I would stay away from that. That's just a personal, discernment. In nothing against New Agers at all. It's a way of life. It's a lifestyle. I think that labels limit certain allowances of the being in the self, just by nature. They constrict.
So you were talking about how mind, body, and spirit before we started the complex. Like how they work together?
Yeah. The mind, body, spirit complex. It's a faculty in and of itself. In the sense of being able to extricate ourselves from the human experience far enough to be able to perceive the individuations of mind to body to spirit, and the catalyst that is projected through each of them as we grow our own sense of awareness throughout our own minds, our own bodies, our own spirits. those kinds of things, and ultimately it leads into a complex, I feel, of like a psychological nature of who we are. So the mind body spirit complex is what we are. It is a combination, a conglomeration of the notes and the harmonies that we play in this grand symphony that is the universe. So yeah, I mean, the complex though, we find lots of expansion in those awarenesses when we look at the mind. Like we look at our thoughts, when we look at our body, we look at our feelings. When we feel into our spirits, we can find who we are or who we have always been. And like kind of touching back on what you asked me earlier, is like how I came into this, and it was really kind of just tapping into that spiritual side of myself and who I am, taking the time to understand my thoughts, where my thoughts are coming from, and understanding my emotions, and then and feeling my body, and then understanding who I am truly and who I've always been throughout all of my lifetimes.
So the mind, body, spirit, they work together.
It's a catalyst. It's a catalytic nature. If you were to look at it as a matrix of experience, like mathematically, a matrix is like there are rows and columns of numbers and equations or sequences that like essentially lead to some place. Create algorithms, those kinds of things. So when we look at the matrix of the mind, body, spirit complex, we are able to see that there is an infinite nature about it. The whole idea of what a matrix is that it produces something, or helps one with understanding something and receiving a potentiation of that matrix. A certain set of principles, a certain set of laws, rules, regulations, structure, right? And then finding the potentiation into signification. We make things mean things in life. That's kind of where
we do. We make a lot of things, not a lot of things.
We're meaning-making monkeys. I think to quote maybe Joe Rogan in that one, I'm not sure. But kind of finding the matrix and the potentiation and the signification of that mind-body-spirit complex, they definitely absolutely work together, in the sense of recognizing our light and our consciousness, our very essence of who we are. It projects itself through the matrix in the sense of understanding the certain set of principles or psychological, adherences that we create for ourselves, and then find the potentiation of that, the projection, the desire to want to create something, either the experience that we're experiencing now, or and then what we make it mean.
When you were talking about, here's where there was one thing you said earlier. You were talking about the potentiation.
Yeah.
And we were joking around about how it was spelled, but you were talking about projecting yourself into it.
Mm-hmm.
What did you mean by that? I was like, okay, we can talk about that, but I didn't know what you meant by it, but it doesn't matter.
Sure. No, yeah.
I don't know everything that everyone ever comes on here and talks about.
Of course, no.
Of course. Okay. But yeah, could you share that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. The potentiation and what does that mean? How do we project our energy into our reality? I think that comes into play with our intention, our general intention in life, and our focus, and our attention. When we focus our intention with our attention into being able to create what it is that we want, that is the potentiation of our being. When we recognize that we set goals for ourselves, or we wish to reach a certain point in our life or our progression, there is a deeper yearning within our being that creates desire, it creates passion, it creates purpose, you know, and so that is the potentiation, the ability to seek within the self and kind of find the identification that we hold, the identity that we hold within the mind, body, spirit complex and the matrix that exists as our general waking experience. Does that make sense? You know, and in the potentiation of our being, you know. It's a very intricate process. It's a very complex process, you know, in that sense of being able to understand the mind, body, spirit complex, that it's a faculty, but it's also very complex by nature. And it takes a lot of time, I think, with the self, whether you're alone or whether you can create a space for yourself, you know, within your own waking experience to go within the self and process some of those deeper ancestral roots of where we come from, where we're going and what we're doing, you know, as a consciousness, you know, like mind, body, spirit to me doesn't just mean like brain, flesh, and blood, and then, you know, like what makes me cry or those kinds of things. Like mind, body, spirit to me means the air that I breathe, and the earth that I live in, and the cosmos that I exist within. My body doesn't stop at the flesh. You know, like when we look at quantum physics at this point states that there is no separation between you and I, or the airwaves that are transmitting this message across the radio waves, those kinds of things. Or the air that
so why do we have the experience there is separation? Because I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I have intuition, and I get ideas and thoughts, and I'm connected to that. But why do we have such an individual experience when you tell most people out there what you're saying? They'll be like, whatever.
Individuation.
I mean, not everyone, obviously.
Sure.
But when I say most, like the masses of people will be like, what are you talking about? Yeah.
For sure. Individuation, I think, creates the illusion of specialness, of uniqueness. And it's true, we are each unique crystals or beings in this life, snowflakes, if you will. You know, the beautiful part about it is in my paradigm, the individuation. It helps me with understanding connection more. It creates a mirror for me to be able to perceive my own reality in a way that I recognize what the universe, or you know, whatever you want to call it, is communicating to me. And
the universe.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
The universe, or God,
universe,
or
God,
like you know, some spirit, the great spirit, higher self, those kinds of things. You know.
Or Jesus, or heaven.
However you identify.
Allah, or Buddha, or
any of them. You know, like I think it kind of comes down to being able to really just recognize your identity with all of it, and you know, seeking that greater desire, and we help each other with identifying, you know, who we are. I think about 80 roughly. This is a broad statistic. I don't know where I got this statistic from, but it's like I think 70 to 80% of what you know about yourself is something that's given to you by other people. This is the process of reflection and identification with, you know, like how people or society or your family tells you how you should be, versus just who you are, you know, inherently by nature, you know. And
I was talking to Salenta about that today. One of the hardest things is being focused on what you see, and not listening to all the other stuff.
Yeah.
And finding the balance to listen to some of it. Like, what should I listen to, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I have this fancy saying: "Don't should on myself and don't should on others." You know, like language is very powerful, much as to what Salenta was saying earlier. Is that you know, like words have a lot of power behind them. You know, and being able to recognize which words we are utilizing in our lexicon and for what purpose, how we're saying them, why we're saying them, what the intention is behind them.
What the intention is behind them.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
Absolutely.
Like, you could use the F word and you can mean all sorts of things. But just using that as an example.
Yeah.
But just so you know, when we keep referring to Salenta, she's sitting right back there. She helps produce and get the show ready. She's a great help to us. Let's give her a hand. She's the invisible person in the back of the room.
Right. She's just the voice.
Yeah.
But so much more.
So much more.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, like you were mentioning and talking about focus. You know, like how we focus our energy into our lives. You know, this is the very basis of what potentiation means. You know, and how we find our focus and where we're placing our intention, where we're focusing our attention, and how and why we're giving our energy to whatever it is that we're giving it to. You know, and so as we find more focus and, you know, meditate more often to find more awareness about our own, you know, patterns, our own internal patterns, and through having conversations and dialogues with itself, it assists us with being able to understand the mind, and then kind of moving on into the body, we create actions. One of my mentors growing up told me like a pretty simplistic, like in a very, very simple way of putting it is, if you want something, you know, at all, if you have desire for something, first you must embody it by being it, and then create actions and do things to get yourself to that point, and then sooner or later, through determination and proper planning, you will have what you desire. Anything is possible in this life. It just takes an open mind and the willingness to succeed. You know.
When you say anything's possible, because I've had this argument before. What about you joining the NBA now, becoming the best basketball player?
You know, I mean, I think that
it's not like I'm not trying to be a pain in the butt.
No,
but I get asked that sometimes too. When I want to hear how you see that.
This is a very multi-dimensional question. If you want the real answer from me, you know.
No,
like,
I wanted a lie.
Well, hey, you know.
Lie to us all. Sometimes people just want to hear a lie.
Yeah, no, I mean, our lives are so multidimensional that I feel like if I really truly put my mind to wanting to be the best basketball player alive and put the time, the practice, and the dedication, yes, I could do that. Am I passionate about it? No.
Yeah.
You know, so it really kind of comes down to understanding. We're much more complex than that. We're not very simple creatures, humans. You know, we tend to make everything complex. You know, when nature is pretty simple, eat, sleep, and maybe fornicate a little bit in between, and then do it all over again. You know, so you know, yeah, I don't know. I think that to put that kind of structure, or like you know, to structure my matrix in that way, asking me if I could be the best NBA player alive, I'd say no, because I'm not passionate about it, Adam. I'm passionate about life and helping people understand themselves more, you know, and understanding our connection to the cosmos and why we're here. You know, what the differences between when I close my eyes and when I open my eyes, and you know, why I feel like I can't see anything when I close my eyes, but yet when I go to sleep and I close my eyes, I can see all kinds of distant lands, distant worlds. You know, like so yeah, you know, just a different perspective on life that I think that I try and help people with.
Cool. What do you do with your being a wellness consultant? What is it that you're? I mean, you do a few things, master plan it.
As a wellness consultant, you know, like I'll have conversations with people, like we're having now. You know, like there are, like my initial consultation, you know, will typically consist of a few questions, and about like 4 questions mainly, and then we can dive into more questions based upon those answers of those questions. You know, and Those questions are, like, who are you? What are you? What are you doing, and where are you going? And in my own unique line of work, and in kind of helping people, I think, find a deeper connection to themselves and the deeper connection to the cosmos, and kind of understanding our place in it. Like, based upon the answers that they give me, will kind of give me an idea of where they're at in their own structured, unique experience or sojourn in life. Like where they're journeying to as a consciousness, as an individuated piece of consciousness that is, traveling throughout time and space, or space and time at, whatever rate they desire. We are infinite beings in my perception, and so I don't think that we only live this one life. I think that we live multiple lives, and that kind of finds reality for me based upon the very fact that there is, like, quantum physically, there is no separation between you and I. So physically, materialistically, there is nothing that's separate.
You didn't want to sit that close to me. What do you mean?
It's not that I don't want to. I mean, I'll hug you if you want, But
just kidding.
Actually,
but we still have that viewpoint of independence.
Yeah, autonomy. Like boots on the ground. The interesting thing about it is that as a wellness consultant, I kind of just try and understand people first, even when they don't understand themselves. Body language, their overall breathing patterns, the energy that they're holding or carrying can tell me a lot about where this person's at in their life and what they're doing, how they're focusing. Are they progressing in life, or do they have momentum, or are they stagnant? And so as a wellness consultant, I ask the 4 questions, like, who are you? Trying to help them with remembering who they are. What are you? See if they understand that question, and like, what are you doing and where are you going? My answers to these questions are very simple. Other people get really complex with it. I had a gentleman once tell me that, when I asked him who he was, he said nobody. And I asked him what he was. He said that he was a Homo sapien. I said, okay. And I asked him, the next question, like, what are you doing? And when we get honest answers out of people, sometimes they can take a turn for the dark, but it helps me with understanding where these people are at in their own emotional, waking experience of finding wellness. And, what he told me was going to an early grave. And when I asked him, where is he going? He said nowhere, besides an early grave. And that kind of helps me with getting to understand, or getting to know, where this person is at emotionally, how much, how much passion they have for living. It's a general compass, it's a meter for me to be able to kind of gauge where this person or entity is at in their own waking experience and what they're focusing on, and so and after I get that information, I kind of help them with starting to find balance, assuming that people that are coming to me are out of balance, right? Excuse me. And then we kind of move into other areas or other modalities of understanding them. My family has been developing a multi-level body scan for the past 30 years that reads the body's meridians, referencing traditional Chinese medicine. And this multi-level body scan essentially will, kind of help me with understanding what frequencies you are holding. If we are everything in existence, if we are consciousness in totality, and the unique frequency that is Adam or Demetri, we all have discordance or distortions within those frequencies.
I know, I'm perfect.
Well, hopefully you'll tell us your secret, because, perfection, I don't know, I've heard that perfection is insanity, so.
Yeah, there is no, anyway.
Right, so.
30 years, huh?
30 years, yeah. So, I mean, they were one of the first multi-level body scans that that was approved by the FDA, and then when the FDA, I think, caught recognition of the healing potential of this technology, they blacklisted it and red flagged it as being membership only, and that it's not medicine, and that it's not to be called medicinal or anything like that. What this machine does legally, is in a legal standpoint, is it helps with balancing your bionetic energy. Bio, symbolizing life, net showing the weave that we exist within life, and the study of it, and how we find our own unique pattern or harmony, the balance that exists as us. We are instruments of the universe, in my opinion. And when we're out of tune, we are in discordance and we are unhappy. When we are in tune or in alignment with ourselves, we are naturally, authentically shining and radiant, and we passively are able to spread our own unique blend of love and light upon the world, if we're gonna, fancy the New Agers here.
Back to the New Agers.
Language is language. That's the beautiful part, I think that it helps with expression, and that's about it, all of the negative, opinionated, people that say that New Agers are insane, or it's the millennials' fault, or whatever, like, they're just opinionated.
It's everybody's fault. Yeah. The baby boomers, the millennials.
I think the Native Americans, the Native Americans say that we borrow the earth from our children. We don't, they don't inherit it from us. We borrow it from our children.
Interesting.
So.
Interesting way to say that. So if someone wants to get a hold of you or work with you, how would they do that?
It would be through visiting my website, which would be www.rawdimension.com, and I have all of my contact information on there, or they could reach out to me at Demetri_Vallejos at yahoo.com.
How do you spell Vallejos?
Vallejos.
And it'll be posted on here, but just in case.
Yeah. Or you can reach out to me through Facebook Messenger. My Facebook profile is public. I willingly and openly accept comments from anyone and everyone. I don't really mind. I serve people from all walks of life, and I don't really have any kind of bias against any kind of individual until, I guess not until, I'm not trying to make ultimatums here, but I hold no bias for people. I love everyone and everything,
I hold bias if they're rude.
Yeah,
that's my line.
I'll try and find.
You don't need to be rude.
I'll try and find forgiveness. Ask myself the holy question: what would Jesus do?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a magnet on my fridge. I'll have to read it.
WWJD. What would Jesus do? Yeah, I don't know. I'd rather find forgiveness.
Cool.
So.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Keep your eyes and ears open for the Ultra Perform show, the show about business and life. But before I finish, will you see if we have any questions?
That'd be wonderful.
I don't know if we have any.
Oh, I don't think so.
Slanta's still trying to learn how to use a... No, don't do that. That means you're inviting them to the show. That changes everything.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh my God. It's okay, we can do a show like that one day and invite people in.
Yeah.
Okay, great. She was just about to click on inviting people into the show, and then there would be a big group show. We'd have to set that up first.
Right.
So thank you guys for watching and listening. Who do we have on tomorrow, Slanta?
Tomorrow we have Jason Lamb.
Jason Lamb will be on the show, and he is known for...
He is a monk, a Buddhist monk.
Sweet. We've got a Buddhist monk on tomorrow.
Yeah, Marine turned Buddhist monk. He's an awesome guy.
Marine turned Buddhist monk.
Yeah, he's written a few books. I think he wrote a zombie book. Actually, I know he wrote a zombie book.
Oh, nice.
Incorporating Buddhist principles, and then he also works with homeless and
cool.
doing service.
Great. Well, thank you guys for watching and listening to the Ultra Perform Show. You can find us on iTunes and iHeartRadio and blogtalkradio.com/ultraperform. See you guys. See ya.
See you guys. Live long and prosper.
And share.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.